we're ready to start. Good morning. Well, I mean, not for everybody. I mean, for some people, it's late evening. How are you guys doing? All right. I am going to go ahead and get started on pursuing some final look for this guy. Pushing him along, fixing some design things, and hopefully we'll end up at the end of the stream with something that something we like. So for those of you who are kind of wondering how it jumped from where it was at the end of last stream to the beginning of this stream, I did do a little bit of work on him on my personal stream, but I didn't do a ton. You know, I did most of what I did on this guy was outside of any kind of stream, but he'll be fun. He'll be a lot of fun. I think that he's turning out great so far. The edges on these hands are quite a bit too much though, so we'll be going through kind of working on the hands some today. We'll work on, I don't know, maybe we can get through the whole thing, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see kind of how we can get this to go. All right. So I'm trying to go through and find. Hey guys. Wow, we got really active YouTube side of things today. That's pretty fun. Let's get the microphone a little bit more out of my face. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so I'm just trying to look real quick. There are some interesting ideas that I have seen in kind of studying out Celtic armor and whatnot. But it's really difficult to find I guess anything that's super historical. A lot of the things that you'll find with looking up Celtic armor. Right here, let me duplicate this tab out and bring it over here. A lot of what you'll find is either illustration, which means that it's somebody's bias or somebody's personal research going into it. So you kind of have to take those things with a little bit of a grain of salt. But still kind of cool, you know, still worth looking at and still thinking about. The other thing that I find a lot is cosplay stuff, and cosplay is pretty cool, but it's not historical, and that's one of the things that gets kind of difficult. Is a lot of people go through and make anything medieval and then put like Celtic runes or patterns on it, and all of a sudden it's Celtic, and it's like, well, you got to do a little bit more research than that. So yeah, it's a really kind of a tricky period to research into. This is cool. Ooh, I like that. Okay, I need to start. Did I make a reference board for this? I'm trying to remember if I did or not. Wrong folder. Go to McLear. No, looks like I haven't made a reference board for this yet. Alright, let's go ahead and make one of these. Such a big reference photo, but it's okay. And grab that and we'll throw it in here as well. Dude's got that stuff tattooed on his arm. Like that's gonna protect him. This is cool. Oh, that's super teeny photo. It's still teeny. I like this, but it feels like it's, well, I mean, it's made out of leather, like leather patches. It doesn't feel like it would be super protective. But yeah, kind of interesting. We already grabbed that, so we can close that. Yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of things. There's another illustration that I had seen. It's kind of one of the first ones to pop up when I see this one. So I'll grab that and I'll use that a little bit for reference. And something that we see a lot with these guys are like these braids. Like they've got braids coming down. It looks like I don't know if maybe it's like a status symbol, or like you have one braid if you're a certain tier within the hierarchy, and then you have two if you have some other level. And then this dude, poor guy, he doesn't even get any. He must be the highest up. He has the least amount of time. Yeah. Busy. It's just kind of interesting. So some of that stuff going on there. Oh, there we go. Historical. And it's still bringing up all the cosplay. And some scale armor. This is nice. Let's see. Green Crusader. No, but I like that scale mail. I thought that was cool. So we'll have to check that out when it's time. Irish Iron Age and medieval helmets. Yeah, Iron Age is kind of the right time period that we're hitting with this stuff. Oh, this is cool. And this is cosplay stuff, but it's super cool. I mean, I like the shape of that armor. It does feel a little bit more Roman. General Kenobi. Hello there. Yeah, it definitely feels a little bit more Spartan or Roman because of the helmet shape. But again, feels like it's something that somebody tried to fudge by going through and putting in the Celtic runes. Yeah, I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to go ahead and try to just fudge it. I do want, so you know, if you look at what it is that I have so far, right now he's got some sort of breastplate, and he's got some sort of shoulder plates. The hope is that those will be enough to protect this dude. And then he's got his helmet, and then he's got, you know, all that stuff. Let's do this. I'm going to turn off the helmet group, turn on his hair so that he's not bald. Okay. let's get to work on this guy. Okay, so far the face is kind of the benchmark point for what I want everything else to be like, and I've got his beard kind of, you know, smooth previewed out. What I want to do, since this guy McLear is like the sea god in Celtic mythology, in Celtic lore, I want his beard and his hair and his fur, his belt fur, to be kind of nautical. So not fur, not hair, but actual like seaweed, kelp sort of stuff, you know. So I'm going to probably let's make a brush. Say clone. I'm gonna call this kelp 01. Let's go ahead and save it to the folder. And I'm going to say initialize QCube. Okay, so we got this, geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. ¿Qué onda, vato? Pues va todo bien. ¿Y tú, Ra? Extend that out. Let's get rid of these. Oops. There we go. Just make it so that it's nice and long. Okay, so now the idea is to make it so that these points and these points line up. So whatever I do to these points, I want to do to these points. So I'm going to take, let's turn off symmetry. I don't want symmetry on right now. Let's take those, and we're just going to kind of manipulate these a little bit here. You tried to sell your work on sites like Foundation or OpenSea. I just got onto OpenSea. I'm still waiting for an invite for Foundation. But even once I get an invite for Foundation, it might be a while before I can get to start to sell things there. It's like when you start with what's it called, with NFTs. It's like you get onto the site, but then you have to. There's some sort of like initiation fee to be able to start to sell, and then once you start, once you pay that initiation fee, you can list as many NFTs as you want. So that's kind of the nice thing. I actually haven't checked how the things that I listed over there are doing. Let's see. Let's go ahead. Let's get Control W, okay. Okay, so just to be able to keep this so that it's fresh. So I think we're going to try something like this. Make it so it's not perfect. And these very end points, I don't have to worry so much about like what they're doing. But I do want them to, you know, like I don't have to have them meet any kind of standard. I can have the ends be whatever I want. So I'm going to do something like this. Okay, so there's kind of our base. That's where we're going to have things start. Let's see. Let's try this out. Let's just go ahead. Let's turn off perspective, brush, create, insert mesh brush, new. So there's our new kelp brush. This is going to be like a little ribbon or whatever, but we're going to try it out. So what we want to do, let's say, let's go over here to stroke, curve, turn on curve mode. Curve step should be just fine. Kind of over here to brush, go to not samples, what am I looking for, not curve, create modifiers. Let's go to curve resolution. I'm going to turn this up. I'm going to start at 5 weld points. We'll say stretch. Let's just test this out, see how this goes. Okay, so it's not welding points very nicely. It's not welding points very well. I mean, this is kind of working. The other thing that we could do, well, so once you go through and you do something like this, let me see, let's make it a little bit thicker. Still blows my mind that it's not welding together. Odd. Anyway, so one of the things that we can do is instead of going through and just leaving it like this, we can go ahead and we can commit it, and then we can say geometry, modify topology, and we can say weld points, and that welded it together. So I mean, it's not like it's a total loss, but it's still kind of a pain that that's happening. Let's maybe turn this to 1, and then we'll turn up thickness a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. So that's getting us kind of like that wavy ribbon sort of look. Now, there's a lot that we can do to this to kind of make it feel a little bit more random. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to go to surface, let's say noise. Let's try this out. Let's try something out. Let's say we need to make this noise scale like a lot bigger. Okay, so you see it's really starting to mess up the look of it. I don't really care about the look of it. What I really want to be able to get is that the displacement from the noise, so that I can actually go ahead and create a little bit more randomness to the surface. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say okay. See, this is kind of what we're getting right now. Maybe even a little bit bigger. Let's make it bigger. Okay, let's try this. We'll say apply to mesh. And see, it didn't really feel like it did much. Turn noise on. Let's go ahead and we'll turn the strength up quite a bit. And then we'll say apply to mesh. And that's getting a lot more application. You see, I mean, still not pushing that silhouette of the shape a whole lot. We'll have to see kind of what we do with that, but I mean, there's at least an idea of something that we can do to kind of get some kelp-like shapes on there. Okay, so let's try adding some in. Let's turn off the boo. And just kind of commit that. Play with that shape some. What do you guys think? I mean, I'm going to probably try to search for like a color that feels like it makes sense for what I'm trying to go for with this. So let's come over here to something like this to start off. Interesting. Okay. The thing that I forgot to do was geometry, modified topology, weld points. Now I may or may not actually end up worrying about the head hair versus the beard, purely because it's not as important. Since it'll be covered up by a helmet, but it might be something that I still worry about after the fact. So let's say split unmasked. Let's say beard kelp. Let's rename this beard blocks. Let's go ahead and kind of turn this a little bit so that it's not exactly the same, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, let's go over here to dynamic and we'll go ahead and give it a little bit of thickness so we can see it. Too much thickness. Okay, there we go. Okay, now one of the things that I'm thinking about is that these pieces feel really, really narrow. So I think I'm going to just manually. You don't need to do anything fancy. I mean, this is supposed to be seaweed, kelp sort of stuff anyway, so keep it really organic and flowy and things like that. Maybe I'll keep it with some thinner sections to get it so that it gets kind of a bit of a wave in the silhouette from the front too. Over something like that. Okay, so now we've got something like that happening. It's starting to be alright. Figure out color-wise what I like better. Maybe a little bit more green. Yeah, let's do that. You know what, I'll leave the leaves like that. That way I can go back to that color if I want to. Maybe what I can do is kind of have it be something of like a gradient, blue down to the green sort of look. We'll see how that looks later on. Let's kind of start going through and kind of establishing colors with the face too, because I think that this will be helpful. Let's see, let's go ahead. I'm going to change the color spray. Let's get that color value down as low as we can make it. Let's get that brush alpha 8. Let's kind of give it a little bit of value through here. I do want to get some kind of purpley tones coming in and like through the nose and through the cheeks. This will help to give him somewhat of a fleshier look. It's kind of tricky making a fleshier look, but I also want him to feel, you know, immortal and not alive. Not undead, but not, you know, not mortal, right? So yeah, just kind of going through and just kind of adding. I'm trying to be really, really light as I move away from these areas of like the deep color concentration. Really bring that purple in nice and heavy over the nostrils. Kind of pull it in a little bit over the eye, but not a whole lot. Let's keep it really, really light. I'm just really gently bringing it in as I get further away from those concentration spots. In fact, I'm trying to decide. Yeah, give him maybe a little bit of a color to that lip, but let's make it a little bit more pink. A little bit of a different tone. Yeah, it kind of warms him up a little bit. There we go. That's working. That's working. Are you sick or are we just doing ASMR? No, it's I'm just a little quiet today. Just a little quiet today. Speaking of sick though, I got my first vaccine the other day. Yeah. That was exciting. It was really exciting. I get my next half on in the middle of next month. So yeah, we're pretty excited about that. Let me see. I just gotta check the calendar really quickly to see what's okay, that's what I needed to make sure of, is that okay, so Paul is on after me today. So yeah, I need to make sure that I am aware of my schedule. Hey Siri, set a timer for 90 minutes.
Okay, your timer is set for 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Being so proper. 1 hour and 30 minutes. All right, with these eyes, I'm going to go ahead and give them just a little bit of a hint of some color here. Okay, it's super dark right now, but what we're going to do is we're going to take the white and we're just going to kind of I was going to say, it didn't feel like it was showing me the color at all. Like, what's going on? And I'm just going to kind of go over this gently until I feel like it's really, really subtle. I feel like it's still too much there, you know? Let's go ahead, let's bring it over here. Let's say color, fill object, a couple times there. Okay, that should be good. So that the color is there, but it's not like whoa color. Okay, let me see. So we've got that kind of color going in there. Let's grab this. We'll go ahead and we'll say color, fill object. Just to get that hair going in better color direction. Let's say color, fill object for that. Yeah, I think we're going to rely very heavily on marine tones and color to help this character to feel like he's a sea god, you know? Go ahead and say color, fill object. Yeah, it's kind of alright. Let's play with that some. Let's go ahead and maybe pull the same color in for the belt. And hey, maybe we'll do the same thing for up here, these shoulder plates. Try it out. Play with it, you know? Enjoy. Right. I feel like that's getting a little bit too weird. So we'll have to play with that some. But let's see. For this tunic, I'm going to take, let's go ahead and let's select the color. Let's shift the color more over toward a blue, make it deep, maybe more saturated too. so that it's nice and dark down at the bottom and kind of fades up to a lighter color at top. Maybe here at top, maybe what we can do is we can make this so that it's a little, maybe a little less saturated. I want it to feel like there's a separation between these pieces, but I also want to make it feel like it's cohesive color-wise. There's plenty of sound. You fix your computer. Unless something is wrong with my computer, but it is showing up as working. So yeah, I think maybe it's something that you just have to fix your. Had to put a smiley face in the message there. Let's grab that C color there. Let's fill that in. It's kind of starting to work. Let's fill that object, color, fill that object. And then for these guys right here, what we can do is we can make them kind of like a desaturated bronze or something like that. So let's, yeah, I'll leave it as that material, but we'll go ahead and we'll say fill. Okay, so super dark. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to take the colors that we have, and we're going to kind of add in accents. Yeah, because right now, like value-wise, nothing stands out. Value-wise, everything's the same. So what I want to do is I want to be able to find ways to be able to make things stand out, because if everything's the same color, compositionally nothing seems to work. So we want to make sure that everything kind of especially up here at the face needs to be our focal point, and so we want to make sure that by, for instance, the cape, we can go ahead and grab the cape. I'm going to drag this over kind of more in this direction. Give it kind of a warmer, brighter color down here or something. And then we'll come down here and we'll play with this color a bit down here, just to be able to add a little bit of warmth, gradient scale, kind of coming up this cape. It really helps us to be able to direct attention. If the warmer colors are up here closer to the face, it really helps us to push the attention up toward the face. Turning the volume up to the max. Good grief. The other thing that was happening is that my wife was in here and she was trying to rest, and so I was trying to be sensitive to that. So yeah, that's kind of the main thing for me, is trying to make sure that I don't want it to get warmer. I want it to get cooler, I think. see how we can do with this. But yeah, I do get quiet from time to time. And if I do get quiet, then bear with me. Trying to decide what it is that I like with this. Okay, something like that for now. Maybe what we'll do is we'll pull in some of these warmer tones for the hands as well. Because the hands are kind of like a secondary focal point. So that's one of the things you kind of want to think about is face is where you want your focus to be primarily, and then your attention can kind of fade to the rest of the character. But with hands are kind of a secondary connection point for an audience to connect with the character, and so you want to be able to kind of gently persuade your character to your audience's attention down to the hands, so that way you can connect with the action a little bit better. Okay. Cool. Okay, so for this, I'm going to let's pull this out of his neck so that it's not going into his neck, because good grief, right? And we'll just kind of pull this around so that it is kind of hitting more where it ought to. Okay. Let's get on these hands. Let me see. Specs for my computer. I think I have like 32 gigabytes of RAM. It's a laptop. It's not anything like amazing. Although I did try to get like the best laptop that I could get. It was a serious investment for me at the time, and that was, and it's been a good thing too, because it's been a good asset for me. Let me kind of square these off a little bit so it feels a little bit more masculine. I have like a 1080 Ti GeForce GTX graphics card. Well, I'm not gonna speak any louder. The thing is that like I've got my stuff. I can speak closer to the mic, but that'll hurt your ears. I mean, I've never really had issues. I've never had complaints until today, so I don't know what the difference is. Sorry, but yeah, some days I do feel a lot more chill and relaxed than others, and some days I feel really peppy and really energetic. Today is less of an energetic kind of day. Today is more kind of like an easing into my day sort of day. So I do feel a lot more relaxed. Yeah. I mean, there is a possibility of maybe your speakers need to be, different speakers, different headphones, different something. Um, I'm not a sound expert. I just know what works for me. Um, let's get rid of these. I don't need that part of the hand there. Yeah. Sorry. I'm trying to get it so that it's at least as good as I can have it. Um, yeah, so I do there the last week. I started this character last Friday on stream. So if you check the VODs for my streams on ZBrush Live, you'll find the very beginning of this character. So really pretty sweet. Um, let's let some more light in. Could be nice. Yeah, typically I do use Transpose Master to pose my characters. I like that workflow. It's very destructive. It's not as nice as like taking a character in to get it rigged and things like that and posed uh, in a more um, I'll say it in a more useful way. Um, I don't really know how else to put it, but yeah, I mean this is because I mean at least with like a rig like Victor Hugo and Leticia Gillette did this presentation sometime last year I think, where they were talking about taking their designs. They worked on this fan art from some superhero kid show or whatever from down in Brazil that I can't remember what it's called. But they did this fan art of these characters, and they talked about how they went through. They did the whole sculpting, modeling, look development, everything, and then they took it into Maya or 3ds Max, and they auto rigged so that they could get the pose on their characters for their final images. Um, I want to learn how to do that a little bit better because that's such a cool process. But yeah, it's not something that I am familiar with. Um, but yeah, I feel like that's one of those things that um, could be nice, could be beneficial, and be working smart. So that way I can go through. I know that my friend Carlos Ortega, he does that. Um, that sort of process where he's going through and he's literally making the model, taking it out, quick rigging it or rigging it, and then he's able to pose it or animate it, and he's able to iterate on the pose really quickly, and it's really nice. Yeah, that's something I gotta learn how to do well because I mean I've started to try to learn that, and it's a fairly simple process, but doing it well, that's something else. So can you tell me what configuration resolution of mesh you are using to make it look so polygonal? It seems to me that you're using subdivision surfaces in ZRemesh or Dynamesh. So this is just, well, I mean, I use like actual topology. So these pieces I actually got off of a Q sphere. Um, so I mean, I like to use subdivide surfaces as much as possible, like dynamic subdivisions. I like to use clean topology. I mean, the hands are hands that I built for a different project that I kind of brought in and recycled for this one. Just little things like that. Just I like the clean edge flow because that allows me to control the shape. It allows me to control a whole bunch of different things, whereas here with the face is using Dynamesh, and so the Dynamesh is not as clean, not as easy to control, but it's, you know, it's enough for what I need for this piece for right now. And like you look at the beard is just, you know, a couple of simple pieces of geometry that have been stuck together. Okay, nothing big, nothing major to it. Okay. But yeah, it's all just trying to keep things simple so that, I mean, like if we were to look at the belt fur, the belt fur is actually just this that's been subdivided a whole bunch of times, and then just sculpted to really give me the look that I wanted to be able to get. Because at first I was thinking pushing it toward like a wool, like a sheep's pelt. But then I was like, you know what? This guy is a sea god. I need to make it so that he's what's it called? Made out of more oceanic type components. And so that's why I'm trying to go through and kind of give him like some seaweed sort of stuff for his some kelp for his beard and mustache. Kind of get these pieces to overlap a little bit so that it feels a little bit more organic. I'm still kind of toying with the idea of these leaves being in there. We'll have to see kind of how things turn out. Right now, yeah, let's go ahead. We'll say auto groups just for the sake of making sure that those are just going to kind of smooth those out so that those lines are in the middle. And then actually let's use, we use this deformation, we'll use the inflate. Just kind of pull that down. Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm going for too, is kind of an algae or kelp. That's kind of the idea that I'm trying to experiment with and play with at the moment. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll say insert. Do something like that, and then we'll go ahead and say mask. And then we'll go ahead and we'll inflate the centerpiece right there. There we go. That's starting to look more seaweed-like, more kelp-like. Oh, it'd be cool if he was. So one of the other creatures of Celtic mythology is the kelpie, which, if any of you follow Anna Carolina's stream, that's what she did for her creature. Which is super cool. Like I love how her thing turned out. So it'd be cool. Maybe what he has. Maybe he rides a kelpie as rides a kelpie to work. If you use dynamic thickness, what's your technique for creasing sharp corners? So right now, since this is dynamic thickness, the corners aren't creased yet, and you can see like it's even losing some volume as I smooth it out. Once I commit it, once I make that thickness reality, I'll go through and I will take, I'll come over to my geometry. I'll say crease, and then I'll go like crease, whatever angle. Usually this is up more around 60 something, between 60 and 70, somewhere around there. And then once I hit that, that will go ahead and it'll crease those corners really nicely for me, without affecting the inside of the mesh too badly. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but that's the hope, is that it doesn't. So yeah, that's kind of my process on that. Let's go ahead and kind of bacon face. I'm gonna come in over here. Let's put this up over here. Crease dynamic. That's an interesting thought. Thanks, Luis. Okay, so that's going to kind of lay the foundation for the idea of what this guy is going to look like. Let's kind of pull this up so that it better matches the shape of the beard blocks down here. Something like that. Auto groups again, so we can grab this guy. We're going to duplicate that back over, and you'll notice I'm just doing a whole bunch of the same, like just click, control click and drag, control click and drag, control click and drag. You know, and that's just the easiest way for me to get absolutely everything out of this one little mesh that I need. I'm able to get so much more out of these out of this one piece by reusing it, than going through and making a new piece. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's kind of twist it the other direction. Groups. Let's put it back kind of where it was, and then we'll just say deformation mirror. That's starting to look kind of cool. I struggle to grow a beard, and now I'm finding myself jealous. A darn kelp beardy. I'm never sure. Should I move from Dynamesh to subdivisions? What's your approach? I use both, but I'm very careful about how I use both. So, for instance, I really like to use subdivisions because subdivisions allows me to have control over the mesh, and to, like for instance, like this cape. If I really wanted to be able to repose this cape, I could do it more easily since it has a low resolution subdivision. But I could also go ahead and I could say, for instance, I could up my resolution on here quickly and easily and get a smoother look, and it's nice and clean. It helps me get a really nice clean and look. Whereas something with let's go back actually, because I don't want it to be smoothed out like that. Something like this, which is done with Dynamesh, it's a lot harder to get the nice clean look, but it's still something that is doable. This is something that I use a lot for when I'm doing concept type stuff. I mean, my sketch is super rough, and so being able to work on a character's face in a very fluid way using Dynamesh helps me to be able to keep this as a rough idea, but then being able to process it out in a way that that makes sense, and it allows me to kind of refine my original initial idea design there. Pull that back out. Okay. So I'm really liking how this is looking. Yeah, I struggle to grow a beard too, by the way. Just I get these bare patches down here underneath my chin. It's not something that I super want. I mean, like I'm not dying to have a beard. Um, my kids are very anti daddy having a beard, so it's not really like something that I absolutely need. And my wife wouldn't kiss me if I had a beard, so it's just I'm motivated to stay cleanly shaven, ish, you know. Okay, let me see. Let's go ahead and take that, kind of mush it around some. Alright, so what I want to do, I do need to get some shorter pieces of kelp. Let's kind of pull this up or something like that. Let's vary up the bacon. Now, one of the things that I'm trying to push for is I'm trying to get these shapes to imitate the shape of that beard as much as possible, as much as that base shape as possible. And the reason why is that I feel like I really like that base shape, and I feel like that's kind of I mean that's the shape design that I was shooting for. So I really want to make sure that I am that I'm aware of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish with it. So I'm going to kind of pull this down a little bit. It's like I want to make sure this doesn't stick out too far. So what I'm going to do, let's say auto groups. And we're just going to push this orange piece down. Make sure that this guy's coming up to where we need him. go off to the side a little bit or something. So we got something like that so far. I am going to need to get another piece similar to this. Let's go ahead, let's take it out. Okay, we'll grab that again. We'll say deformation, mirror. Go ahead and take this and maybe push it down a little bit so that it's not competing too much with the other side. Then we'll pull it over here some. Let's grab this guy, make it so that it's coming out from underneath. That way we're getting a little bit more of like a layering sort of effect in here, which is awesome. That's the sort of thing that we want to be getting. Bacon beard. I mean, that's what it feels like to me. Let me see. Do you use toy plastic material for your eyes to give a good speculate? I do typically. This time I'm not. I wanted the eyes to feel like they were glowing and bright. So what I have is this sketch shaded material. I feel like it's working really well to keep a nice flat sort of look, but then it also gets a little bit of, like, it gets a little bit darker with the curvature. So if we look at just the eyes by themselves, you can see. Let's go ahead and I'll turn off the color for it. Okay, let's get back up to a white. You can see, like, I mean, there's no color information there, but because of the material, it kind of feels like there's some definition to the iris there. And the reason why is because of the curvature. So it's getting a little bit of a, like, it's going through and defining the way that this mesh is dipping. And I didn't have to do much to be able to do that. I just grabbed this poly group and just kind of shoved it in just a little bit. So really, really simple. Really effective. So even without the color, this is what we're looking at. If I turn the color back on, you know, it's just a little bit more enhanced to get something of like a ghostly sort of iris and pupil going on there, which I really liked. I thought it worked really pretty nicely. But yeah. Pull this down so that it's got a little bit more of a. In fact, let's maybe pull this up and over a little bit more. We will say polygroups, autogroups, polygroups. Here, let's go ahead. I'm trying to kind of get this idea of aquatic plant life for his beard and mustache and all that stuff. But it's kind of tricky to do it in a way that I feel like makes it feel like it's actual plant life. Let's go ahead and kind of rotate that down a little bit. And I'm trying to do it in a way that makes it add to that feeling of like some sort of like aquatic plant beard, but also has this keeps like the shape language. It keeps the shape design that I have going on with the beard block in and things like that. And it might be worthwhile. Ooh, that's something I hadn't thought of. Let me try this. I've got to try this now because this is going to be beard leaves, beard kelp, beard. Pardon the funny looking undermesh there, but it worked for helping me get the idea across for what I needed. In fact, since the actual face doesn't need to be as reflective of the shape of the beard as it is, I can just kind of design this so that it's a little less awkward. Let's turn off RGB. Get something like that going on. Something like that going on. And then if we turn in fact, let's go ahead, we'll do this. We'll turn beard blocks on, we'll turn that back on. We'll turn that back on. And then we'll go ahead and we'll just say new folder, we'll say beard. We'll just add these pieces to that folder. Close it, and then we can turn it off. Okay, so my idea. Is he going to be a merman? No, he's not. He's just going to be a God man. I don't know what else to say to that. Okay, so I'm going to try fiber mesh. I'm going to try. Let me see. Let's turn the beard back on just to make sure that I'm getting kind of a, roughly the idea. Pablo would be so proud of me. Let's go ahead and kind of drag this down. Just make sure that that's not masked, because otherwise it'll give me weirder results with my fiber mesh. Fiber mesh is a tricky beast, and I don't use it super often. We're going to give it a whack. I was thinking of, you know what? That's a cool idea too. You know what? I'm going to try this first. Let's go ahead. I'm going to grab beard blocks. Let's just say Control D. Oh, not Control D, Control Shift D, sorry. Okay, let's turn off transparent. We're going to turn off the kelp. We're going to turn off the leaves. So instead of going through and trying to push this kelp sort of idea, I'm going to try going through and getting more of a moss sort of an idea, which I think could work just as well. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and say Control D. Actually, let's go ahead, geometry. We'll say apply. Okay, so that gives us a couple of resolution subdivisions as resolution there. So I'm going to start by going through. I'm going to go through and kind of give it a little bit of a sculpting pass first. See, what type of asset do you usually make? Game asset or illustration? I work in the animation industry. My the typical thing that I make. I have worked in games. I have worked in animation. Um, the typical thing that I do now, though, is character maquettes, which is slightly different from doing game and all that. So, yeah, I mostly maquettes, which is like a posed sculpture of a character. I do character design. Um, so typically, what I do lately, I've been doing character design maquettes for Netflix via a company named Spin Master. So it's been really cool. That's what I do though, is I do character design maquettes. Okay, I'm just gonna give some. Let's turn off symmetry. I don't need symmetry on this part. I'm just gonna give it kind of like a little bit of a surface variation here. Get it to come down along the bottom. I kind of like the way that that's giving me like this little nub on the end there. That's a little bit too much. Let's see. Yeah, so getting different materials in there for things like glass. Yeah, glass inside of ZBrush, it's kind of a joke. um, I kind of like that darker color there. Let's go through. Let's do that. Let's make it a little bit more blue though. Oh shoot, didn't want to do that. That's cool. That feels very. Actually, it feels more Scottish probably, but whatever. Um, yeah, so I think it's important to keep in mind that ZBrush isn't a rendering program. It's a sculpting program. It's a modeling program. I even use it for texturing quite a bit. Um, but yeah, it's not a rendering program. They do have a lot of integration with things like Keyshot. They do have a lot of integration with being able to take things with GoZ over into Maya or into other things. And typically, what I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and use things like Maya. I generally use Maya to be able to render, just because I feel like that gets me more the results that I'm looking for. He looks funny without his beard. And then I have control over things like the glass and being able to get different types of materials on there that I can't get inside of. You know what I'm gonna need? We're gonna need that other brush slice, the not the slice, this the slash. So yeah, I mean that's really kind of the thing, is just understanding that ZBrush has a purpose, and it's not going to try to bend to get everything that you need, but it is trying to get quite a bit of different. I don't like that. But yeah, they do try to get like a lot of the different tools that people report needing. Um, they work very closely with different studios to be able to get an idea of studio needs. And so a lot of the implementation comes as recommendations from users, but then also a lot of the other implementations, things that they put in, are things that Ofair or the other members of the ZBrush team come up with that that are kind of just like, oh, this would be a cool thing to have, or what if we could do? Let's kind of do something like this. Smooth it out some too, especially up here at the top. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to use, this is probably hands down one of my absolute favorite things to do, to be able to create afro hair. So I'm going to use this to kind of create a little bit of a moss sort of look here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say noise. Yeah, I think it's better already without the bacon. I agree. Let's go ahead, frame, and what I'm going to do. Let me see. Oh, actually, let's say cancel. Lightbox noisemakers. Is this noise 38? Now, when you turn it on, it doesn't look like much. I mean, this is super, like the details are super large. I'm getting purple in there. Really kind of a pain. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the color blend. And then I'm going to take this, where is it? Plugin scale. You can see like making it bigger, making it smaller. You're getting these different sized details here. What I want to do is kind of invert it. Okay. Take that down, something like that. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to say mask by noise. Okay, I'll invert that mask, and then watch this. I'll go through with my inflate brush, and then I'll let's hide the mask so that you can see a little bit better what it is that's happening. I can just add these little bits of these details through here. Okay. And it's super cool. So I'm not trying to go through and like inflate everything. It works sometimes, but not all the time. If I add it in carefully and in certain areas, and I can emphasize it more in some areas than others, it allows me to control the overall shape. And then what I can do is, instead of just leaving it like it is, just leaving it, simple, kind of plain, maybe it's not quite as powerful to get the real effect. I can, like for instance, right now I'm coming through down here. That's a little bit too much. I can come in with my move brush, and I can start to pull. I can start to pull on this. So you can see you're getting this this really cool sort of mossy look to that. And if we pull on it in the right direction, it helps to get kind of like that little bit of gravity to it. It's healthier now. It's broccoli. I don't know if broccoli's healthier than seaweed. I mean, they each have their vitaminical properties. Vitaminical. My word. FDA cannot have it. Just kind of pull on that just a little bit so that it is getting some definition. So yeah, that feels very, very mossy. Now, one of the things that I can do, I just cleared my mask. I can go in and I can turn on noise again. Instead of just having it the way that it is, I'm going to take the plugin scale and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Just so that way we can vary up the detail some. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, yeah, we'll leave that as it is, I guess. Okay, we'll say mask by noise, invert, and then we'll just kind of pull on this just a little bit more in some of these spots. Okay, it doesn't have to be a whole lot. Maybe we'll pull on it more here in the mustache though. I'm just going to kind of refine the overall shape of this so that it's not too, so it's not coming out too far, so that it's still holding up the nice shape that we had before. Let's get a little bit more of a curve right there. I think I like that curve better. And then we'll get a straighter edge down here along the bottom. I'm feeling almost a little bit dizzy here for a moment. Okay. What do you guys think? Oh, it's healthier. Okay, I get it. I get it. Compared to the bacon, yes, you're right. Broccoli is a lot better. If it's for production, wouldn't you do this kind of detail in Painter? Yes, I would definitely do this detail. Actually, I'd do this detail here inside of ZBrush. And then I would take, you know, like this mesh or whatever to be my base. And then I would project the displacement from this mesh. So essentially I'd get a displacement map, normal map from this level, going to that highest level. And then I would take that over into Maya, and I would use that for rendering, with smooth normals and all that jazz. The reason why I don't want to do it inside of Painter is that if I take it into Painter, one of the things that's going to happen is that I have to worry about the projection. I have to worry about making sure that all those details come through nicely, and it doesn't always work. So one of the things I really, really like about using ZBrush for these things is that I don't have to worry about projection issues. It's stuff that just comes with the mesh. So all I have to worry about is having a clean mesh, clean UVs, and then the details just come kind of for free. Um, so yeah, it's really pretty nice. Well, I mean, it's just as non-destructive inside of ZBrush. I mean, the thing that I've got, so I've got right now I have my beard blocks with with the broccoli, but I also have the one that's just plain. So that's something that I can't do inside of Painter. Yeah, I could go through and have different groups or different materials or things like that, different smart materials that I could apply. Um, but I this is just the way that I tend to work is just kind of going through and building it out inside a ZBrush. Um, so you sound like you at least know a little bit about Painter. The reason why I don't go into Painter for things like this is because when it goes through, if I'm trying to project my details inside of Painter and trying to bake out my displacement maps or my normal maps or anything like that, I get issues coming through here. It seems like no matter what, there's always some sort of issue happening in here. Unless I were to take them and bake out the mustache separate, bake out the beard separate, but then I can't get anything like an ambient occlusion or anything like that, because then I miss the association of. Well, in fact, that's kind of. I miss the association of the one piece to the other. So it's kind of a game of balance, a game of give and take, a game of but yeah, I mean that's kind of what I've been doing lately is just using normal maps and displacement maps from ZBrush. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting dilemma, and it's interesting to be able to kind of work in those things in tandem. Um, I'm gonna, yeah, let's leave it separate. But yeah, definitely kind of an interesting thing. Kind of give him some sculpted hair here. Keep like fumbling my buttons. It's like, which button am I hitting? Which one? Hit the button. But yeah, that's kind of my ideal. Just kind of working through, because that way I don't have to worry about those strange projection issues, the bake issues. Trying to see. Yeah, that's not gonna work for me really. Okay, let's see. Yes, I did design this character myself. It's just a quick sketch to be able to get the idea out. But then I went through and started blocking him in and sculpting him out in last week's stream. So this will definitely take me longer than the next 20-25 minutes to be able to finish. But whatever. In fact, let's come down here to the beard. I'm going to go to surface. We're going to say edit. I'm going to say copy. okay. And let's turn off the noise, we don't need it. Let's go ahead and give us another subdivision or two. We'll say noise paste. We'll say frame so we can see what's happening. You can see our noise going into the mesh. Say mask by noise. In fact, what we could do, I guess we could come over here to deformation. We'll just say inflate just a little bit. Invert it. And then we'll just kind of take some of these points here and just kind of pull it out some. The more directionality we give this, the more we feel like it's hair flowing from a base point from the roots and flowing outward. So yeah, super cool. It's a simple solution. It's not necessarily like the most amazing solution, but it does give you a quick and easy look, you know? It does almost feel a little bit too much though. So let's just kind of take it back a little bit. Alright, something like that. It's working. It's working, sorta. Although it does have like the bigger details. I don't really have like the smaller details in there. Let's turn this on. Let's take the plugin scale, make it smaller. Say okay. Mask by noise, invert. Actually, let's not invert that that noise. Let's just kind of take it back and in. My take on NFTs. NFTs seem like it's a complicated. Like my feelings about the whole NFT realm is complicated. And the reason I say that is that I feel like non-art is being elevated and rewarded, whereas like I mean even somebody like Raphael Grassetti, okay, amazing artist, super talented, super quick and able to turn out some really cool things. I mean, he's going through and doing these busts and they're not selling for half the amount as some of the I'm trying to be sensitive in the way that I talk about it. As some of the lesser art out there is is being treated, and a lot of people will go through and say, well, I think it's great because it's leveling the playing field, and it's like, is it? Yeah, so from a major standpoint, I really don't I don't particularly like it. I am trying to get into it because I feel like it's something that could be helpful to me as an artist if I'm lucky. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that there's so much that goes into people getting their big break that it's just it's kind of hard to really be able to put a value on the whole experience. I think it's a strange phenomenon. like I said, I am trying to get into it from a standpoint of, if it works, if it really works, then, and I can become a millionaire off of very little, then it's like might be a game worth playing. But yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my take currently on NFTs. I know that there's a lot of turmoil and dispute around the whole environmental friendly aspect of it. In that it takes an insane amount of energy and things like that. And my argument would be just that it takes an insane amount less energy than it would be to use fossil fuels if we were to go through and develop better, more efficient sources of energy. So, that's kind of my take on that. But yeah, that's the thing. Let me see, micropoly on. Let's test this out. I do want to make my own chainmail. That looks terrible. Let's say a line. I do want to make my own chainmail mesh, which I won't do at this moment. But it is kind of cool to see how that would look with the chainmail applied. I am thinking actually about using chainmail there, but then using like a scale mail elsewhere. The hard thing is that some of these things aren't going to align well at all. You see, like, it aligns to a point, and then all of a sudden it's like it has to turn around on itself. Yeah, that chainmail works pretty alright. Let's try something like this. Yeah, you can see, you can tell that it's not lining up and not doing what I want it to do, but whatever. Yeah. The whole energy argument, I think, is an argument for we're supposed to be advancing in a way that helps the environment, and it's something that I feel like if we are going to move into the future any day soon, that's one of those things that needs to happen, is that we do need to we do need to move in and have that process begin. That looks kind of cool. I mean, it's not matching up in the same ways that these pieces have been, but like this other piece that we were looking at looked like it fit a lot better. This chainmail or this chainmail. There's this, or there's this Celtic one, right? Kind of odd having that piece there in the middle. Ah, that's so sad that it doesn't work quite perfectly, but yeah, no, that's not gonna work for me. It's too see-through. Yeah, no, that's kind of a cool one, but yeah, whatever. Yeah, these pieces, it's really kind of interesting. I mean, it's something that's helpful, but it's also something that can be kind of tricky to work with. The nice thing about using the micro poly is that it's all dynamic. So I mean, it's like I can still move this around, and you know, all I'm working with is this low poly mesh. So not a big deal. Now you can see it's really starting to slow down if I really boost up the number of smooth subdivisions there, but and it wasn't even working right out after a certain point. That's true. That's true. The chainmail could get damaged and things like that, so that's a valid point. Okay, I'm going to let's turn off the dynamic just so we can kind of maybe think about. Oh, so this is something that's just part of ZBrush ever since. Yeah, I think it was from ZBrush 2021. Just the very start of ZBrush 2021 is this ability to turn on dynamic and turn on micro poly, and you get to choose a mesh to be able to put in there, and it's super nice. How does chainmail work when baked down? Does it use transparency? No, it's actually when it's baked. When it's baked, if you were to go through and hit apply, you would actually go through and turn those into actual geometry. Now you could go through and bake them as maps. I'm not sure how I would do that inside of ZBrush, but I do know that you could go through and do something like that inside of Substance Painter or Marmoset or whatever other baking software you use. It's an interesting question. I hadn't thought about trying to bake transparency maps inside of ZBrush. Okay, let me see. Add a subdivision level here. What is going on down here? Oh, it's like there's creasing, but only to a certain point. Okay, I get it. Let's say crease PG. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now I'll have to go through and fix that. Let's say apply. Okay. Now, if I want to be able to pull this subdivision back out, I need to make sure that I have, let's see, let's turn on symmetry. Okay, cool. Make sure Z modeler is on. We're going to say insert multiple edge loops. Fine. Actually, let's make sure that it's keep polygroups. I wish there was a way to be able to turn off the creasing, like the automatic creasing for inserting multiple edge loops, but whatever. So we'll get that, and we'll get this bottom one too. Okay, so now we've got that, and that. Go ahead, let's turn off the thickness because we don't need the thickness on the dynamic anymore. Okay, so now that we have this, what do I need? Let's say uncrease all, say crease PG. Okay. I was about to do something. And actually, here's one of the things that I could do. The creases that are happening around the edges, and in fact, let's check it. Let's say uncrease all, just to see kind of what it is that it looks like. I actually kind of I prefer that crease better, or that look better. I am going to crease this edge loop down here though. Okay, that way it keeps that piece from kind of going through the belt in a weird way. See, move infinite depth. Let's take this. This is a great brush. Just going to take that, kind of even that out some. Just going to take that, pull that out some. Huh. Wonder what made that happen. Okay, so let's see. Interesting. Okay, so let's say deformation, mirror, mirror and weld. Okay, that should get me both clean sides. Check around just to make sure that I've got good clean mesh going around. Looks like we're good. Okay. Now, one of the things that I can do now, because I went through and added in these intermediate edges along the edges here, I can come in here now and I can say reconstruct subdivisions, and now I have, here, let's turn off dynamic. Now I have the original mesh, and I have a subdivision up. Okay, so that's really, really helpful. Pull that out just a little bit. Okay, let's start figuring out making this feel a little bit more better. Okay, I'm just going to kind of pull this out some. All right, so we're starting to get some details in here. We're starting to get some ideas of, let's get rid of that. Turn that off. Turn the thickness on. Let's say 0.02. Ah, dang it. Alright, something like that. Okay, let me see. If I wanted to create cuts and tears within the clothing, would you boolean them in? No. I mean, cuts and tears, that's something that I would model in. So my pocket got messed up a little bit. That's something that I would model in. And so it's something that I would probably think ahead on pretty heavily. And there are some cuts and tears that, granted, you could go through and just like, for instance, like frayed fabric, you could probably like model in a little blip in the actual geometry, and then a lot of people will go through and do a lot of look development to get like frayed ends of threads and things like that coming off of it. I am not entirely sure what the final will end up looking like, because I haven't thought to like those sorts of details yet, but I do know that I do want to add in possibly some sort of wear and tear. I mean, this guy is supposed to be, I mean, he's supposed to be a warrior. He's supposed to be a king. He's supposed to be all sorts of things. So I mean, his vestment will be a little bit more refined than like a typical soldier would be. In fact, let's turn that helmet on. Turn the hair off. In fact, now that I've done this, I mean, I'm curious. go ahead and let's do this. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure what I'll do so far as different tears and things like that, but it's something that we'll work through for sure. Do I like that? I feel like that's creating a little bit too much contrast. I don't know, maybe we'll play with having this lighter for right now, just for the sake of adding a little bit of a lighter color as we get closer up to the face. Although I do kind of want to keep I'm gonna play with some colors here. And this is all just kind of blocking things in anyway, so it's not a huge deal. But I do want to make sure that I'm thinking about these things, because if I do kind of like the idea of like a lighter color, but I think in putting a lighter color, I feel like that makes his face disappear. And I feel like it makes his face disappear into that green. So I'm going to have to do some kind of research with these pieces here to really kind of be able to figure that out. Yeah, I don't know. So much fun though. There we go. That's why. It's like, man, it's just not. Wanting to. Work with me. It's a little bit too bright, too blue. Kind of feels like that'll probably end up being my solution for this. Getting kind of like that lighter color in there, and that makes the face stand out quite a bit more. Now I feel like his tunic piece is a little bit too saturated, so I'm just going to come down here. Let's try Polypaint, adjust colors, say frame, we'll take saturation, we'll just kind of move it down just a little bit. Say okay. In fact, let's try this. Instead of just moving the saturation down, let's just try moving the hue as well. I kind of like the idea of the saturated colors, but I feel like it is just, I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like it's losing that appeal that I had. Let's see if we can figure this out now. And it might be a matter of just taking this cape and maybe giving this like a more of a punch of color. Let's try kind of pushing that a little bit. Let's take these and we'll say, maybe we'll boost some saturation in here. I think that's starting to go in a good direction. Let's play with this some. And now it doesn't look like much is happening, But watch this. Let's go ahead, adjust colors. We'll say saturation. We'll just kind of push that. You can see like there's a significant amount of color there. It's just that it's really, really desaturated. And so we're going to go ahead, let's play with that. That's a little bit too colorful. Let's do this instead. Let's just come over here. We'll say, take this, kind of fill it in with this a little bit. I think that works. Give a little bit of a color variation in here. It's all like super blue and whatnot, but if I add just a little bit of red or a little bit of like a warmer color in there, it helps to just warm it up, helps to make it feel kind of more interesting and things like that. So that's going to be kind of cool. So we'll do that. I know this is looking like a super blob of idea kind of coming together, but it's one of those things that I think kind of pushing it and just figuring it out is going to be extremely helpful in making sure that this piece turns out to be appealing, you know? It's just the idea of exploration. It's the idea of really figuring things out. I kind of like that. Adding in that red. Make it a little bit darker or something. Let's kind of give it a little bit more darkness down here along the bottom of the sleeves. Cool. Quick save. Okay, so I'm starting to get to this feeling just from some quick color additions. I'm starting to get to this feeling of ancient, and that's kind of, yeah, that's a big deal. That's something that we want to be able to really hit on with this guy. We want him to feel super, super ancient. Okay, and so by going through, let's see. Let's get rid of that mask. We don't need that mask anymore. I might try kind of boosting that just a little bit. I'm not sure I like that though. I think that that's a little bit too here, Shift S. You know what? I'm going to keep it the way it is for now. And I think later on, as we progress, we'll be able to make kind of more decisions based on what it is that we see. But I think for now, having it be what it is will help in being able to make those decisions. If that makes sense. Okay. Something that I'm trying to think about too, and maybe I'll just block this in really quickly for the sake of being able to test it. Let's see, what is it called? It's the curve quad fill. I'm looking for it. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead. Do something like this. It needs to be a lot more narrow. Oh, let's go ahead. Let's it's kind of interesting having it like that. I'm going to turn on local symmetry and we'll just kind of thin it out some. like that. I mean, it could be worth holding on to just for the sake of the idea. So let's open up this and we'll say split unmasked part. Let's call this wings. Idea 01. It's like something that we do see with like the mostly with the illustrations. And really, I don't think I've seen anything with like actual helmets that have wings. I have seen things with like mohawk frills kind of going up along the middle. So I might play with something like that too. Yeah, I mean, so far he's coming along really well. I'm really liking him. Antlers, yeah, maybe, but antlers don't really feel like they would fit the aquatic theme, and wings don't really feel like they do either. But maybe if I make them kind of more like fins or something, kind of coming off the side, something like that could maybe work. Yeah, I don't know. That's something I'll have to go through and kind of think about. I might stream some more of this guy some other point. But for right now, I think we might call it quits for the day. Yeah, it's fun. I really enjoy being able to go through and just kind of work through ideas. I think that's one of the most fun things about being able to stream is that, you know, it's just fun, and, you know, I get to bounce ideas off of you guys, and you guys bounce ideas off of me, and sometimes things stick, you know. Let me see. Most money is being made by luring in people to mint their Blender loop animations and memes on Rarible. Energy consumption is more impressive than most crypto art I've seen. It feels like a scam to me, but known artists can make good money in that world. Maybe. I mean, it's like I know a lot of known artists that are on there and don't seem to be doing as well as a lot of the meme artists, we'll say. More like frills from the spitters in Jurassic Park. No, definitely not. I know what you're talking about, but yeah, that probably wouldn't be quite the look that I'm looking for. I like these wings, but I also kind of like the idea of just having it be simple. I'll have to play with the idea of like a frill kind of coming off the back. I think that could be cool, or having some sort of like fish fin kind of coming off the side instead of a wing. But yeah, and that'll be fun. And then I also want to go through and kind of play with the ideas of where is that? This cape fastener. I want to go through and kind of design a little thing to be able to put there, be able to design a belt buckle, those sorts of things. And that's something that'll come along later. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. I mean, he's got a long way to go, but he's coming along. Yeah, this is one that there are a lot of design choices to make in going through and building him out, and so that's kind of a lot of what's going to take the most time is just exploring, experimenting. And since I'm the art director on this one, since I'm the one that's kind of figuring it out, I'm the designer, I'm the art director, I'm the modeler, the whole everything in one. It'll take a little bit longer to figure it out, but it's worthwhile. It's worth playing with, and it's fun. Trying to decide maybe before we cut out here. Let's turn off that helmet again. Let's build a couple of eyebrows. Let's go ahead and kind of give this a little bit more of a height in height. Go ahead and do something like this, this, and then we'll do this, and then we'll do this, this. Let's split this into two. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5. Commit that. We'll say split unmasked point. We'll come down here. We'll call these eyebrows. Extrude all polygons. Let's pull that out. Okay, cool. So that's what I wanted. I wanted so mask, polygroup island. That way we can just grab this and we can say give it some more body here. We can give it less body on this end. We can kind of really figure out what it needs to look like from that standpoint. Go ahead and give it this nice dark blue-green color here. Maybe make it a little bit darker. Color, fill object. See, that looks really cool. That looks really graphic, and that's super supporting the the vibes of the character. So to create simplified hair, I have a lot of videos on that on online. I do stylized chunk hair on all my characters, so it's pretty much all my characters anyway. You know what? Let's go ahead and take it back to something more like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in an extra loop in there, and then we'll raise that. Let's go ahead and refill those. But one of the things that I like to do, let's go ahead and say crease PG, but crease tolerance right there, just like that. Should be great. Insert single edge loop like that. Oh, let's say crease on this bad boy too. Edge loop partial. And we'll say mask edge loop partial, invert that. I'm going to say deformation inflate. So yeah, one of the things I like to do is really kind of push and pull on these shapes in here. Just kind of pull this into his head a little bit more here on the inside. And then this crease is super hard. Okay, I don't want the crease to be quite that hard. I feel like that's too much. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with geometry, subdivisions. We're going to take this up to 3. But then we're going to take our crease tolerance, our crease level down to 2. You see it gives us a little bit of a softer edge there. It gives us more of a stylized look. It feels a lot nicer. Yeah, it kind of does have a little bit of the vibes from the old knight from from the Last Crusade, which is kind of where I was able to draw that reference from, like the chainmail kind of going up around the head. But yeah, in the end, very different sort of character. Not as thin. Let me see. gonna make teeth and tongue on this character. Maybe. I mean, I wasn't intending to take this character to like a final. I don't know. I might take this character to a final topologized, animated, animation ready sort of character, but most of what this was is it was meant for like a speed exercise for this month, since the theme with the Pixologic streams has been Celtic lore, Celtic mythology. So yeah, this is MacLear, who is the sea god. So yeah, I'm just kind of playing around and figuring things out, but this take this and we're going to say color fill object, and then we'll kind of grab this and we'll say mask by smoothness. Standard brush, please. And then we'll come through here and we'll just kind of highlight all this. Just gives it a little bit more of a variation, a color variation. Might be a little bit too much though. Kind of unify it by going over the whole thing without the mask now. Okay, mask by smoothness. That feels a little bit better. I think before what it was just standing out too much. Yeah, see, it's like the green is like super bright, but by going through and subduing it some, it's helping to unify it a little bit more with this area of the body, so that it distracts less from up here where I want the focus to be. So yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how all this turns out. This piece though, let me go through and do this. I want to say geometry, delete lower. Let's say ZBrush. Let's hit ZBrush and see what it gives us. Thanks, Orion. Yeah, it's fun. I really like being able to play with color and being able to play with different ideas, especially with a character that's supposed to be mythological and grandiose, and I mean he's a sea god, and so trying to really play with those ideas of color and whatnot. Oh, dirty. Turn off symmetry. So just now, what happened is because I had symmetry on and I did ZBrush, it went through and ZBrushed and got my mesh to be symmetrical. I don't want it to be symmetrical because I have my little bits of everything kind of going off asymmetrically. You can see it's further out here, it's not as far out here, it's further out here, not as far out there. So just trying to play with asymmetry and make it so that it's a little bit of a feature there. So what I want to do is I want to take this, I'm going to say so make sure symmetry is turned off, which it is now. We're going to hit ZBrush, and now it should be honky-dory. And then once this is done, I can go ahead and I'll project my details back onto this mesh, this low resolution mesh that we're creating right now. And then once we do that, I'll go ahead and I'll call it good for the stream. Okay, there we go. I kept the asymmetry nicely. It looks pretty alright. I'm just going to kind of smooth out what's along here in the middle. We don't need it to be super detailed in the middle. this spot, there are a couple little things in here that are kind of buggy. Let's merge that together. Stitch to midpoint. Yeah, we'll keep that. That's fine, I guess. Pull that. Let's kind of smooth this just a little bit. So my whole point on smoothing right now is that I'm really trying to get it to be just a little bit more even rather than having it be something smooth and beautiful. Because what's going to happen is that I'm going to go through and that needs to be merged down or something like that. Because what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and subdivide this and then project details back. But I do need to make sure that my mesh is prepared to receive that detail. So we're just kind of going around making sure, oh shoot. Like right here, this is a terrible little spot. So if we just kind of smooth that out a little bit, it helps to keep things in better lines so that when I subdivide and then just one more pass around the other side. I can't remember if I did the bottom or not. So when I subdivide and then project, I don't have like points overlapping and things like that, because that's a pain. Okay, so now we have this belt fluff. Let's go ahead and we'll say, let's solo those two pieces out. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and say Control D, maybe twice, and then let's say project geometry and color. We're going to say project all. I'm going to say yes. You can see this is kind of what we're getting. Okay, it's getting kind of close. Not too bad, but I'm going to go ahead and turn off RGB for my smooth. I'm going to smooth out some of these spots in here. I'm just trying to go lightly with like a small smoothing brush so that I can get these areas to be smoothed out a little bit. Yeah, we'll do the top circuit here in just a second. But yeah, it's important to do this without the color smoothing turned on, because what'll happen, the thing that I'm trying to avoid is having that color become blurred. I want to keep the color nice and sharp. And I mean, I guess technically I'll be projecting again here in a minute after I add another resolution, another level of resolution. So it's not a huge deal, but whatever. Almost there. And then I'll be getting off so that Paul can get on. I do most of my retopology inside of ZBrush. This is an example of automatic retopology for something that doesn't need to be super clean, so it's not really a huge deal. This is something that I could use for Maya, and it would work just fine. But typically yeah, I do go through and kind of model things out inside of ZBrush. There are some things that are easier to do inside of Maya, which is where that's where my foundation is. Um, but um, but yeah, generally I like to stay inside of ZBrush because it allows me to sculpt and model and paint and do all the things simultaneously. I don't have to worry about taking it outside. I can do clean topology. I can't really do like awesome UVs inside of ZBrush yet. I keep waiting for UV peel to come out. Plug. um, I keep heckling Pixologic about it too, so it's it's kind of funny. Let's turn off these pieces that I don't need. Turn that off. Turn that off. Let's select the head. Turn off the hair. Turn off the wings. Oh yeah, and then in the beard, I need to turn off the kelp. Let's go ahead and turn off the beard blocks, the beard kelp, and the beard leaves. And then I have no idea what that is. Okay, so we can turn that off. Turn that off. Looks like I might have an extra belt somewhere too. There we go. Turn off that cape fastener there. I thought I'd already turned off that hair. Maybe I didn't. Or maybe I did. I turned off the other hair though. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we will. Yeah, UV peel will be awesome. Yo, based. Not sure what your question is there, Green. But yeah, I mean, there's kind of where he's ending up for right now. Still a long way to go. I think I might push colors even further if in trying to push this guy further along the pipeline. But yeah, I mean, it's coming along. It's really, really fun. Oh man, you guys raid right as I'm ending. Thanks for coming though, guys. Yeah, Paul Gabriel will be on in a half hour, or less than a half hour now. So be sure to tune in. He will be talking about sculpting for miniatures. I haven't actually checked out what it is that he's working on at the moment. But knowing Paul, it's always something super awesome. Yeah. So thanks for coming and tuning in and having fun with me today. And yeah, it's a good day. Happy Friday.